Finally, guys, we have got some career mode information. FIFA 17 is just around the corner. Only a couple of weeks to go before we get our hands on the beta, the demo, and then the game itself. And I'm really excited because finally they've released some details. I've got the screenshots for you. So sit back, relax, and let's talk about career mode. Okay, so first of all, you can see here someone is selecting Real Madrid as their team for their career mode, which is pretty good. I'm sure a lot of people go with Real Madrid to kick off their first season. They've got a lot of money. Now, the first thing you see is it does look completely different to what we're used to. Firstly, you can see board expectations. Now, this is where it gets interesting. So as you can see, there are 5 different categories. You've got domestic success, you've got continental success, brand exposure, financial, and youth development. And this is the 5 categories that come together to become total club management, as they're calling it. Total club management sounds pretty awesome to me. You'll see under each category there's a number, 1 being critical, 2 being high, 3 I'm guessing will be medium, and then 4 is low. So as Real Madrid, if you're going to be doing a Real Madrid career mode, it is vital, it is critical that you get domestic success, continental success, brand exposure. You have to achieve those 3 things, otherwise you could be fired. Financially, it's not too much of an issue. You can see the transfer budget there, and that is low, so they're not too worried about that. And when I say they, I mean the board. These are the targets, the objectives that the board will set you, and it'll be different for every single club. And at the bottom there, you can see the youth development is a high priority. So they do want you to, promote some youth players, play them in the first team. That is not critical, but it's still something they'd like you to do. Now, this really excites me, guys. The best thing about it is it will vary between clubs. If you're playing with a bigger team, you're going to have completely different board expectations compared to if you're doing a career mode with a team that's lower down in lower leagues. Now, before I go on, I just want to give a massive shout out to the Foothead team. They actually got to play career mode earlier, and they've wrote a brilliant article in it, so I do recommend you go ahead and check that out. The link will be in the description. And basically, guys, I'm going to break down each category here and give you some feedback based on how Foothead got on at the event they were at and when they got to play it. So basically, it seems these board expectations are split into short-term and long-term. Short-term goals being, this season we want you to do this, and then the long-term being, in the next 4 seasons we want you to do this. So let's start off with domestic success. So short-term, it would be things like we want you to win the Premier League this season, or we want you to win the FA Cup, maybe even the League Cup as well. Long term, it would be something like in the next 3 seasons, we want you to win the Premier League. So it really depends on what team you're using. Maybe if you took someone like Liverpool, they would say in the next 3 seasons, we want you to try and win the Premier League. Maybe if you're going with Man City, with the squad they've got, your short-term objective would probably be to win the Premier League that season. Now, in terms of continental success, it will be things like win the Champions League this season. That would be a short-term objective. But maybe long-term, it would be, look, in 3 years' time, we want you to win the Champions League. So that's pretty simple. And I was just thinking to myself, that's kind of what we do now, except it's not really official. We have it in our heads when we start a career mode. Like, for example, if I was to start one tomorrow with, let's say, Wigan, I would want to get promoted and eventually get into the Champions League and then eventually win the Champions League, maybe over 5 or 6 seasons. Except from in FIFA 17, they're actually going to ask you to do this. And if you don't achieve it, then obviously you're going to be held accountable. Now moving on into something completely new in FIFA 17 and in the career mode series, that is brand exposure. This is really exciting. So a short-term objective would be something like achieve £1 million in shirt sales, which wouldn't be too difficult for some of the bigger clubs. Now, again, in brand exposure, long-term objectives could be things like expand the club in certain continents. So one way to do that would be to play a pre-season tournament. So in this case, again, Foothead said that they were going to have to expand the club into Asia within 2 seasons. So to achieve that, they did a pre-season tournament in Asia. And they were saying how you could also sign players from that region, and that would also help. Now, this really, really does excite me. A lot of clubs in real life do sign players abroad to gain exposure in those countries, or they play pre-season tournaments in those countries just to expand the club's reputation across the globe. Next, we have financial. One of the short-term goals here could be, to sign one of the best players in the world. Maybe if you're going with a club in the Championship or lower down in the Premier League, you would get a different objective. Obviously you wouldn't be able to sign one of the best players in the world, but maybe they could say, we want you to sign a first team player worth £10 million or so, and then you could complete that objective. And now moving on into youth development. Short term could be something like grow some academy players by 10 overall, and then bring them into the first team and play them in a certain amount of games. Let's say they send you an email saying, look, we want you to promote 3 youth players from your youth academy, get them into training, grow them up by a few overall, and then play them in 6 games, and then you would get your objective complete. That'd be pretty nice. Definitely something that they needed to do to really promote that part of the game, because it felt a little bit boring. That's my opinion anyway. Lots of people have different opinions, of course. But those are the 5 categories, and I really do like it. Now, this screenshot is pretty much similar to the last one you saw, except from he has selected Real Madrid, he's in his career mode, and these are the objectives that the club have set. And by the way, you can see 80 there, manager popularity rating on target. So it looks like you're not only going to get domestic, continental objectives, things like that, you're going to get personal objectives, and you're going to have to achieve a certain popularity rating, which means you're going to have to be very careful with results, make sure your club is going in the right direction. And this guy's doing well at the start here. Maybe 80 is his target, so he starts at 80, and if he starts losing games, it's going to drop. Or maybe it's going to go up if you start winning competitions, winning derbies, things like that. Now, his latest objectives seem to be set into 3 different categories. Again, you've got domestic, continental, and then you've got domestic again. So the first objective is in the Champions League to win it within 2 seasons. You can see there remaining seasons 2. It's a little bit of a small font there. Hopefully you can read that. But basically it does say we want you to win the Champions League within 2 seasons. The next one is the league objective, and that is to qualify for the Champions League. So that would be a top 4 finish. That's not really that difficult for Real Madrid, if you ask me. A top 4 finish is guaranteed. I think they should really be winning the league personally. And then the third objective there is to win the domestic cup. It's not called the Copa del Rey anymore, is it? But that is their objective there. And you can see the different categories and how important they are. It's really nice. I really like this. Now we're moving on into the new finance menu. So again, we're inside the career mode as Real Madrid. He's still got the 80 at the top there, his popularity rating. And underneath, we've got overview, transactions, and budget. So this excites me, guys. Finally, we're going to see our club's finances in more detail. So you can see we're making a profit here, apparently. $334,000 per week. It must be per week at least. I mean, Real Madrid make a lot of money, but you can see the earnings and expenses are very similar there, basically 50-50. So the club worth is 3.2 billion and the projection is 3.2 billion. So if your objective is to improve this, then you're going to have to make sure you do. Here you can see the club earnings. So transfers, he's made a profit of $33 million. So clearly hasn't brought anyone in maybe, and has sold a couple of players. And you can also see merchandising. Now that is cool. I really like that. Whether you're going to be able to control it, I don't know, but that's obviously things like shirt sales, $7.9 million, so a total of $40.9 million in earnings. But now we're going to look at expenses. This is where you can see he has actually signed some players. He's actually lost $34 million, so he's actually made a net loss of $1 million on transfers, which isn't bad at all. And player wages, $6.6 million. Interesting that the merchandise brings in more money than money going out on player wages, even at a club like Real Madrid. Whether this is really accurate and realistic, I don't know, but it's really cool that you can see this. Now, just to give you an idea on how it varies by changing your club, Real Madrid, we saw the numbers there. This is a Japanese league team. They've introduced the Japanese league into FIFA 17, by the way, a brand new league. We're going with a team here called Gamba Osaka. I haven't heard of them, but the board expectations have changed completely. Domestic success is a high priority. Then you've got continental success and brand exposure being medium, and financial and youth development being low priority. Transfer budget of around $6.1 million and a club worth of $17.2 million, which is absolutely nothing compared to Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs in the world. But obviously this is a considerably smaller club. and there is no official stadium. It does seem maybe this year we're only going to be getting a couple of La Liga stadiums and not any in Japan. You can see their kits as well, of course, but it's great to see that if you do change clubs from big teams to lower teams, your expectations do change quite a lot. And now finally, the last screenshot they showed us was this. You can actually make a manager. Oh, wait, no, you can't. You can't make a manager. You have to pick from certain ones they've already made. So unfortunately, there are only 11 different managers. They are high res though. They have definitely said they're high resolution. You will see them on the side of the pitch while you're playing games, but you will not be able to change their look at all. You can't change hair. You can only change what they're wearing. So you can see above his head there on the right. What happened to game face? Why can't we put our game face on a manager? That really, really did disappoint me. If they're going to spend this much time building these high resolution models to have on the side of the pitch, why couldn't they include game face? It would have been so much better. But I've got to be honest, this is still an improvement, and it will be cool to see your manager on the side of the pitch. But guys, those are all the things that are coming to FIFA 17 career mode. Now I'm going to briefly talk about the things that haven't changed. And again, I've got to give massive credit to Foothead because I'm getting this information from their article. So they basically said on their article that it's easier to talk about things that haven't changed compared to the things that have. So player training hasn't changed at all. Press conferences haven't changed at all. Match simulation, nothing. Nothing has changed at all. Player conversations, nothing has changed. Youth Academy is exactly the same. Team management, exactly the same. Global Transfer Network hasn't changed a bit. Pre-season tournaments, exactly the same. Squad report, exactly the same. The news is exactly the same. And the menus are exactly the same. Obviously, it is early days. There are still a few weeks until the game comes out and we can get some more information. But I'm actually a little bit disappointed that they haven't changed more. And of course, I'm grateful that they have done some things. But every year, you feel like you expected more. And yeah, it's the same story again, unfortunately, guys. I was hoping they would have changed just a little bit more, but you never know. There might be more information to come out soon. But I'm really, really glad that there are some changes coming into FIFA 17 career mode, because I feel like FIFA 16 career mode just died very quickly this year. And it's been difficult for YouTubers like me to keep it relevant, to keep it interesting. And a lot of us are relying on big improvements in FIFA 17 just to make things feel new again. And based off this, sure, we're going to get a couple of nice features coming into the game, but nothing overly dramatic that will drastically change the way you play career mode. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will catch you later.